Okay, I'm going to start inside of Business Central, right, and show you what we have today, right? So if I pull up PopDoc, and again, those are just some standard, it's pulling standard BC data, but here's the key. So instead of switching from seeing Business Central information, I can switch to some scenarios where I have information that I've stored in the data lake and made available with PopDoc. Now, this isn't the focus here. I do want to point out one thing. There are some people that instead of archiving it to a data lake, they actually choose to keep a SQL server running. And so we have options there. We do have a gateway. Some people put it in the cloud, whatever it may be, but we do have ways that you can hook into that data directly. But for most people, we see them, they want to, at some point in time, retire that SQL server. And that's really what we've been focused on today. So we moved the data, extracted it out of GP, moved it to a data lake, and now PopDoc has made this available inside of here. So if I want to look at some payables transactions, for example, I can pull this record up and I can, there we go. The first time it pulls up the data lake list, it's a little slow. And now we're actually pulling data that used to be in GP just a moment ago and now is sitting in a data lake. We can still do fun things, right? If I want some 1099 fields on here, I can quickly add those, right? And now I have given this user interface to my end user that's a lot like those smart lists that they're comfortable with coming from GP. So this is one of those immediate things for your GP users to help them get comfortable with using Business Central. Is the history that we have inside of here becomes really, really easy for them to use because we've given them that smart list type interface. Now, I'm showing you one that I had already put out there, but what about all the lists that we just did? So I want to show you how easy it is to embed some new history inside of here. So if we go back to PopDoc now, we're going to go into the widget. And this is the main widget that's embedded inside of Business Central. If I go into lists, you'll see I have a bunch of the standard BC ones, but then I have some additional groups, if you will, where I have some of these history scenarios. So we're going to choose to add a brand new list. I'm going to add it to the GP data lake, and we're going to grab it from where I have those GP ones. So let's just move. You know what? I'm going to do a really easy one to see, ZZ. So I'm just going to move some inventory lists. So if I go back now to Business Central, and I'm just going to hit refresh on this. If I go back into the GP data lake, look at this. We now have this other list that is sitting inside of the data lake. If I pick the company that I want to see it from, I'm now pulling, looks like this is just inventory items on this ZZ inventory list, but that was a custom smart list that came from GP. We pushed it to the data lake, and in a couple seconds, we made it available. Again, we can interact with it and add any columns. We can add, an unlimited amount of filters, right? Just like you can on any list. So working with the data lake is no different. We can have as many filters as we like. So all those comfortable things are still there. And that was pretty easy. Now, I'm gonna turn it up just one more notch here, because this is a really common scenario that we see is people go, okay, that's great. You've given me maybe some history. You've given me capability of pulling it up each time. Maybe I use favorites, right? Those are all built in, all those fun things. But what if I actually wanted to see that embedded on a page inside of Business Central? And this is where it gets really, really fun. is that I have the capability. So here's our buddy Aaron Fitz, right? He's made the journey from GP to Business Central. But what do we have down here? We have PopDoc once again. So we've given you this same interface that allows me to filter everything down. And I've done something kind of special, right? We expect a lot of history, right? This is mostly, if you see the source connector, it actually says this is history coming from GP, right? So this is information we archived in the data lake. But if anybody had a sharp eye, you could see it changes. So we have history, but we also have open transactions for this particular customer, because that's a special feature of PopDoc that we can combine information from more than one system. So I've combined live data from BC with the historical data that we moved to the data lake, and now I have one list. I have it embedded onto any page inside of Business Central, and you don't have to write any code to make any of that happen. I think that's a really key part to this whole thing.